Hi, and welcome to November 2019's edition of Breck Buzz. Today we are going to be talking with our town clerk, Helen Cospolich, so stay tuned. We're going to be talking about court, marijuana, and the cemetery. Hi, and welcome to November's edition of Breck Buzz. Today I am joined by Helen Cospolich, our town clerk, so welcome.
Thank you.
I thought it'd be really interesting to bring you in because, you know, your department is municipal services, and, you know, some people may not know exactly what municipal service covers, which it covers a lot, so maybe explain a little bit more about what the department does.
So we like to say in municipal services that we run the town, which isn't
true.
exactly true, but we are responsible for all critical documents in the town. We have municipal court under us, we have communications under us, we have elections under us, we have all document management for the town under us. We also do some basic things like swear in new police officers, and we run the cemetery. Oh, and we do marijuana licensing, liquor licensing,
Right.
and now we'll also be doing tobacco licensing.
Yeah, there's so much involved, and so, you know, your role as the town clerk, kind of what's that role in municipal government, and why is it really important?
I feel very special about my role because there are only 3 roles that are written into the original town charter, and that is the mayor, the town manager, and the municipal clerk.
Wow,
Town
yeah.
clerk, as it's typically called. In this role, I guess the founders of Breckenridge thought it was a critical role that's pretty consistent across all municipalities. Someone who could run the town in the back end and file everything appropriately and make sure everything was recorded, and so all of the correct information about how the town functions, it was living in one office.
Yeah, because a lot of times you're looking at the town statute and state statute, right? You're kind of balancing all the different rules and regulations for the town.
Right, and that's one of the really nice things about this role is that there's not a lot of gray area. We're working in black and white, so we're following the law in everything we do, and we can go back to that to reference to citizens when they have questions.
Yeah, and that's all based in the town charter, which people may or may not know.
Correct, we are a home rule municipality with a mayor-manager form of government, so our mayor runs the council, and we have a town council also, and the town manager then supervises all the staff.
Right. So, yeah, so everyone, you know, this is all set in a charter. This is what we operate off of. There are a lot of different rules and stuff. And that kind of ties into my next question is that, you know, we just had an election county and statewide. And so maybe explain the difference between a town of Breck election and a county election, state election, and maybe why there are different election periods.
Sure, so there are different roles of the different levels of government. So
Right.
we have the state government, the county government, and then the local municipality. We all have different elections. So on this ballot that people recently received, it had state issues and county issues. And then if it was a presidential election, it would also have the presidential question on it. The fall November elections are always county elections. We can coordinate with them, is what it's called, when we have an issue that we would like to put on the ballot,
Right.
or a question, really.
Right.
And we can, it's called referring that question to the ballot. So
Right.
we did not do that this time, although we did go in on the tax question for tobacco
Right.
as a municipality, and that did pass. The spring election is held in April. That is a local municipal election that is written into our charter and our town code. And it typically elects the council and mayor. And then sometimes we'll have tax questions and other issues that we can refer to that ballot.
Right. And speaking of the council election, we're going to have a few seats open, or people are going to be running. So, you know, if someone says, hey, that sounds interesting, I'd like to run for council, kind of what are the steps and requirements?
So we will have 4 council seats open, 1 mayoral seat. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be the age of 18 or over. You have to have lived in the town of Breckenridge for the year preceding the election.
Oh, okay.
And you have to be registered to vote within the town of Breckenridge.
Gotcha. And so if someone says, hey, I fit all those requirements, what should they do?
So beginning on January 27th, you can pick up the information from our office, and we are located at 150 Ski Hill Road at Town Hall. We will have a council packet of information. You have to basically declare yourself a candidate. And then from there, you are required to fill out some forms and turn them back in to us by January 27th. And then after that, we take the process and we mail out the ballots. It will be a mail ballot election like the fall coordinated elections.
Gotcha. So everyone will get that in the mail.
Yes, and we do, we're encouraging people to become involved in local government, and becoming a council member is a great way to do that. If people aren't ready for that, they can come to the council meetings and see what they're all about.
Yeah.
Just generally knowing what's going on in local government is really important.
It is very important. And another area that municipal service covers that we talked about, you mentioned, is liquor and marijuana licensing. And so, what changes have you seen since you've been here and in your role as clerk? And I know we have a liquor and marijuana advisory board, so maybe talk a little bit about all of that.
Sure. So the town of Breckenridge duly licenses with the state of Colorado liquor and marijuana shops. So within the town of Breckenridge, we have approximately 115 liquor licenses for businesses right now, and that's not including special event liquor licenses.
Oh yeah, that's a lot.
We have a lot.
Yeah.
It goes with the tradition of Breckenridge. We've had alcohol in our town since it was founded in the late 1800s, so I think it's part of our culture. We do follow a very formal process, though, that's mandated by the state. And so the licenses pass through our local licensing authority, which is 5 people, and then they move on to the state level, and they're approved at the state level as well. And our local licensing authority has 2 open seats right now.
Yes.
And we are encouraging people to apply. It's a pretty minimal commitment. Twice a month there are meetings, and the meetings range from about 15 minutes to an hour at the most, typically. And those applications are due to our office by the end of this month, and there's more information on our website, townofbreckenridge.com. For marijuana, it's similar. We duly license with the state of Colorado, and we actually have a moratorium on any new licenses right now. So we have 4 licensees that hold a total of 9 licenses between them. And that's pretty status quo at the moment.
Yeah.
So.
And were you the clerk when kind of the changes happened with legalizing marijuana?
Yes, I was. Although Breckenridge as a whole was one of the very first municipalities in the whole country to decriminalize marijuana, and I believe it was in 2008.
Right.
So we had already taken that first step when then the rest of the state decided to follow.
Gotcha.
And make it legal on a statewide level. It's been an interesting ride, maybe, but now it's kind of all normalized, and it's treated by our office very similar to how we treat liquor licenses.
Right, and you did say that there is a moratorium, which means that there are no new marijuana licenses in town, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But we have new liquor license all the time.
Right, and all of that information is on our website also, including all the forms people would need.
Yeah, and so now, there's been liquor and then marijuana, and now we're moving into nicotine, which is something that ballot initiative passed and something that you guys are kind of taking over. So, maybe give some people some update on the changes to law and what municipal services is overseeing.
Sure. So the town council voted on an ordinance to change the minimum age for purchasing tobacco products to 21, and that took effect October 2nd.
Yes.
So within the town limits, you have to be 21 and over to now purchase tobacco products. Starting January 1st, we will be licensing every business that sells those products and all the paraphernalia related to them.
Gotcha.
So we are working on that right now. Again, all of that is on our website, and we have a form available for businesses that think they might sell those products. There will be kind of a nominal first-time fee, and then we'll just see how it goes. And we anticipate we have about 25 businesses in Breckenridge that would qualify for this business license specific to tobacco. And then the election that just happened passed the new tax rate for tobacco products.
Right.
And that will take effect in January as well, I believe. Okay.
Yeah, and people who may not know if they are selling tobacco paraphernalia or not can obviously email you guys at website clerk@townofbreckenridge.com, just so they can, make sure, see if there's a question about something, whether they're selling it or not.
Yeah, certainly we want everyone to be legal and to make sure that they're licensed through us. We think this is a really important initiative moving forward, and we really think that it will help us identify who the sellers are and who they're selling to.
Yeah, because a lot of this was brought about by some really passionate high schoolers who came and chatted with council and kind of led the charge. So it'll be really interesting to see. And maybe if people don't follow the rules, they will have to end up in another area you cover, which is court.
We cover it all.
We have, we have our municipal court and our county court. And I know sometimes we get people at our municipal court who should be at county court and vice versa. So what would people come to court at the town of Breckenridge for, as opposed to maybe the county?
So we are a municipal misdemeanor court. So we handle mostly traffic infractions as well as the smaller charges. So ski pass violations, which is when you use someone else's ski pass illegally. We do take all of those. Dog at large charges. Really most of the smaller things, kind of petty theft. It really depends, but any of the larger charges go straight to the county, because we don't have the resources to handle that on a municipal level. Our court only meets twice a month, and it's in our council chambers. And we encourage people to call us if they have questions, because we are really different from the county court. And the way we operate is more along the lines of a standard municipal court, which is a lot smaller and less frequent than the daily operations at the county court.
And in that court, we also see illegal ID use at marijuana dispensaries, yes?
We do, yeah.
We see a little bit of those.
Those have dropped since people have understood what they can and cannot do with marijuana. A lot of it is education, and we do take the approach, I think, as a town, that we want to educate first. So luckily we're seeing fewer and fewer as people understand the laws around marijuana, and that you cannot go and smoke in public. And you cannot smoke in your condo if your condo owner says you cannot. So,
so it's definitely been a learning process. And then, okay, finally, I know this is a fun topic for everyone in town. Something you oversee is the cemetery. So can you give us some fun facts or tidbits about the cemetery?
Oh, the cemetery. So the Valley Brook Cemetery is located on Valley Brook Road. It is a historic cemetery, and we recently got the designation of a National Historic Site. So, and that was a big process to get it to that point. We had to do a full analysis and basically make a case as to why we deserve that recognition. The cemetery, I don't know the total number of spaces we have in there, but it is divided into two pieces. There's a right half, as you're looking west, there's the right half which the town owns, and the left half which the Masonic Lodge owns. And that was done in the early 1900s, about 1915, where that split occurred. The town cemetery is created in a Celtic cross symbol, and it's one of the only ones, as we understand, in the whole country that was done that way. Which is really interesting. The people who started the cemetery did it in a Celtic cross. We do have quite a bit of historic graves in there that kind of hold the story of Breckenridge, and the Breckenridge Heritage Alliance has partnered with us to lead some really interesting historic tours through it. It is also an active cemetery, and we do have about a dozen burials a year in that cemetery. So we just ask people to be cognizant of that when they spend time in there, and respectful
that there might be a burial going on.
Of things that are going on, I mean, there's so much neat history, but there's also some very recent history too. Interesting facts, I believe it was 1997, there was a massive blowdown of the cemetery. Really, only the cemetery was hit by this microburst of air, and all of the trees collapsed and damaged a whole lot of the headstones and almost all of the fences in there at the time. So we had to do a massive restoration project after that.
It's pretty creepy.
It is a little creepy.
Was it in October?
It was. I think it was the day after Halloween. I don't remember. I'd have to look.
Well, there's all those Heritage Alliance stories of the ghosts that live in some of the buildings. So.
There's some good stories for sure. And then more recently, we did a ground penetrating radar survey of our oldest section, so the quadrant of the cemetery that had been there the longest. And we had someone scan it with something that would recognize what was underneath the surface. And we identified, we think, 78 graves that we didn't have mapped. And we don't know how old they were.
Wow.
But considering that this cemetery was the primary place where people were buried from the early 1900s, anything could have happened.
Right,
there was a massive flu in 1918 that killed almost over half of the population of Breckenridge.
Wow.
And we think at that time things might have just been buried wherever they could.
Wow. Wow.
So it'll be an interesting project moving forward to see what we can identify and make sure that all of those people, if we can figure out who they are, were recognized.
Wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Good reminder to get your flu shot.
Oh my gosh.
As we move into flu
or just
season.
don't live in the early 1900s
Or don't
with
live in the
flu.
early 1900s.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, wow, I mean, so interesting. There's just so much that goes on in municipal services, from managing the charter and the Constitution and elections and town council and liquor and marijuana and court and the cemetery. So I hope everyone's learned a little bit more about the process that we have here in the town. And thanks so much for joining us, Helen.
Absolutely. Thank you.